I deliberately withheld sex for 8 months because a magazine promised it would lead to a proposal, and now everyone calls me manipulative while they congratulate him on his engagement to someone else. My sister says I got what I deserved, my mother won't answer my calls, and my best friend posted his fiancée with the caption, "Finally, a woman who actually knows how to love a man." What they don't understand, what nobody understands, is that I found the ring first, hidden in his sock drawer, and I have a receipt proving he planned to propose to me 3 weeks before I ever read that stupid article. By the end of this, you'll see why the real betrayal was his, not mine. I promise you. The first time I saw the ring, I was putting away laundry. Ethan had always been the one to fold his own socks. He claimed I matched them wrong. But that Tuesday afternoon he'd rushed to work, leaving his gym clothes on the bedroom floor. I shook out his running shorts and something metal clattered against the hardwood. When I bent to pick it up, I saw the velvet box, slightly crushed from the fall. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it again. Inside, a princess-cut diamond winked up at me, catching the afternoon light through our bedroom window. The receipt tucked inside said February 14th, Valentine's Day, 3 weeks prior. He'd bought it 5 months into our 6-year relationship. During the weekend, I'd taken my mother to Branson for her birthday. That was the first breadcrumb I should have noticed, the timing. He'd been weirdly insistent about me going without him, claiming he had a work project due. But Ethan never worked weekends. He lived for his Saturdays at the lakefront grilling burgers and reading those thick fantasy novels with dragons on the covers. I'd stood there holding that ring, my breath coming short, and felt the first crack in my certainty. 6 years of picking up his wet towels, of laughing at his terrible puns, of building a life in our 2-bedroom Wicker Park apartment, and he'd waited until I was out of town to buy the ring. But I didn't connect the dots yet. I just felt the warm glow of vindication. Finally, he was going to do it. The next 3 weeks became a performance of patience. I didn't mention the ring. I didn't let on that I knew. I planned elaborate dinners, left subtle hints about our future, even casually dropped the name of that beach in Maui where I'd always wanted to get married. Ethan grew quieter, more withdrawn. He stopped reaching for me in the night, his hand freezing halfway across the mattress before retreating. I told myself he was nervous, preparing his speech. The thought made me giddy. Then Valentine's Day arrived, and with it the magazine article. I was getting a pedicure before our dinner reservation, flipping through a glossy women's magazine, when I saw it, "The engagement secret men won't tell you why strategic distance works." The author claimed men needed to feel the absence of intimacy to understand its value, that withholding physical connection for 60-90 days triggered a primal commitment instinct. The logic seemed sound. The testimonials were compelling, and I had this ring, this tangible proof that Ethan was ready, just waiting for the right push. That's when I made my first calculated decision. I wouldn't just wait, I would accelerate the process. If a little distance worked, imagine what 8 months could do. I told myself I was being strategic, not manipulative. What I couldn't see was that Ethan had already earned my trust. He'd earned it when he'd held my hair back during the food poisoning, when he'd driven 3 hours to my grandmother's funeral. Every small kindness I'd taken for granted now made his coldness a consequence, not a mystery. The article became my Bible. I underlined passages about maintaining mystique and creating scarcity value. I stopped initiating entirely, brushing off his tentative touches with feigned exhaustion. When he asked if everything was okay, I smiled and said I was just feeling off lately, leaving the ambiguity to gnaw at him. My best friend Jenna noticed first, commenting that I seemed distracted during our weekly coffee dates. I laughed it off, saying work was stressful. But the truth was, I was living for the moments he'd look at me with confusion, convinced my plan was working. He was finally seeing what life without me might feel like. 3 weeks into my experiment, Ethan came home with a new phone case. I didn't think anything of it until I saw him tilt the screen away while texting, a gesture so subtle I might have missed it before. My rationalization machine kicked into high gear. He was probably planning the proposal, coordinating with friends. This was proof my strategy worked. I leaned into the distance even harder, declining his invitations to watch our usual Thursday night shows, claiming I needed me time. The irony of calling it that still makes me wince. In reality, I was sitting in our spare room, refreshing engagement announcement hashtags on Instagram, convinced each new post might be ours. The first real consequence came on a rainy Tuesday, exactly 6 weeks in. Ethan didn't come home until 2 in the morning. He smelled like whiskey and something else, perfume, light, and floral. When I asked where he'd been, he said a work thing ran late and didn't meet my eyes. I should have known then. I should have felt the ground shifting. Instead, I felt vindicated. See, he's panicking. The article warned about the turbulence before commitment. I was supposed to hold firm, so I did. I made his favorite lasagna the next night, a peace offering that kept my hands busy and my body separate. He ate 3 helpings and thanked me with a forehead kiss that landed like a period at the end of a sentence. The article had prepared me for this. He may pull away before he pushes forward. Stay the course. I stayed the course. I stayed it right through the spring, through Ethan's sudden interest in late-night gym sessions, through his phone buzzing face down on the table. My mother called in April asking when we were getting married. I told her soon, so soon, with a confidence that made her squeal. I didn't mention my strategy, some things mothers shouldn't know. By May, Ethan's side of the closet started smelling different, like a soap I didn't buy. When I asked about it, he said he'd switched brands. The lie landed so smoothly I almost believed him. Almost. Then came the truth bomb I should have seen building. Jenna invited me to her birthday dinner at that new tapas place downtown. Halfway through the meal, she asked point-blank if Ethan and I were okay. I laughed, a high-pitched sound that didn't convince either of us. We're better than ever, I insisted, swirling my wine, just going through a phase. That's when she dropped it. Maya, I saw him last week. At the movies. With a woman I didn't recognize. The world tilted. My mouth went dry. Work friend I managed. They were holding hands, Jenna said softly, her hand covering mine. I yanked away, angry heat flooding my face. You're lying, but I knew she wasn't. The truth landed in my gut like shrapnel. I spent the next 3 days in a haze of denial and detective work. I checked his phone while he showered, found deleted texts to a number labeled Sophie Work. I scrolled through his Instagram likes, found a pattern, same girl, same bright smile, commenting on his photos with inside jokes I didn't understand. The defensive justification machine in my head worked overtime. This was just a friendship, a symptom of my distance, a test I needed to pass. He was trying to make me jealous to force my hand. That's what I told myself as I drove to his office on a Friday afternoon, my hands trembling on the wheel. I saw them before they saw me, standing by her car, his hand on her lower back as he leaned in to say something that made her laugh. The intimacy of it, the ease, broke something in me I didn't know could break. I didn't confront them. I drove home, packed a bag, and left a note saying I needed space. When he called, I let it go to voicemail. The article had a whole chapter on creating crisis to crystallize desire. I was creating crisis. I was crystallizing desire. I was absolutely losing my mind, but I couldn't stop. This had become bigger than a proposal. It had become about winning. The weekend I was gone, Ethan's texts went from confused to desperate. Where are you? Are you okay? Please call me. I responded once I know about Sophie. The 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Then a single text, it's not what you think, please come home so we can talk. I didn't. I stayed at a hotel, refreshing my phone, waiting for the proposal I was sure would come now that I'd shown strength. Instead, he proposed to Sophie. I found out through a group text from his best friend Mark congratulating them. The message popped up while I was in line at Starbucks and I dropped my phone. The screen shattered. So did something else. I called Ethan, finally, my voice shaking so badly I could barely speak. You proposed? I whispered. You were gone, he said, his voice flat. You withheld yourself from me for months. Sophie didn't. The words landed like punches. I wanted to scream that I'd done it for us, for our future, but the truth was uglier than that. The truth was I'd found the ring and decided to test him. I'd created the distance that drove him away. I turned a loving man into a stranger through my own insecurity. The engagement announcement went live that night. Photos of them at the Art Institute by the lion statues, her hand on his chest, the diamond I'd found in his drawer now on her finger, except it wasn't the same ring. I zoomed in, pixelated and desperate, and saw it was different. Marquise cut, bigger, not the one I'd found. The realization hit slowly like ice water in my veins. He bought another ring for her, 3 weeks after I'd started my experiment. My sister was the first to call, her voice tight with disappointment. Maya, what did you do? My mother texted, I raised you better than this. Jenna left a voicemail I couldn't bring myself to listen to. I was radioactive. I checked my own Instagram and saw the comments flooding in, not on my sparse posts but on theirs. Perfect couple. About time he found real love. Someone shared a screenshot of my best friend's post. It had 347 likes. My phone became a weapon against me. I stopped looking at it, buried it in a drawer, and spent 3 days on my couch replaying every moment. The withholding had worked, just not on the man I'd intended. The man I'd driven away had found someone who didn't need a magazine article to love him. The social fallout was immediate and atomic. Our mutual friends split like cells, most migrating to Team Ethan with shocking speed. Mark blocked me first, then his wife, then their entire extended circle. I saw photos pop up of them at engagement parties I wasn't invited to, at dinners where my chair had been replaced by Sophie's slight frame. My own best friend, the one who'd posted that caption, started appearing in their photos too. When I confronted her, she said, Maya, you created this. You can't be mad at us for living in the world you built. The phrase "the world you built" echoed in my head for days. I'd built a world of distance, of tests, of withholding. Believing love was something to be earned through deprivation rather than given freely. My work suffered. I missed 3 deadlines. My boss called me in, her face a mask of professional concern. Is everything okay at home? I almost laughed. Home. There was no home anymore, just an apartment full of Ethan's abandoned things and my abandoned dignity. I threw myself into a frenzy of cleaning, purging, but every corner held a memory. The kitchen where I'd made those elaborate meals he ate alone. The bedroom where I'd turned away from his touch. The bathroom where I'd hidden that velvet box in my own drawer, unable to look at it but unable to let it go. I kept the ring. That's the part people don't know. I kept the ring I found. It's in a safety deposit box downtown and I visit it sometimes, this symbol of a proposal that never came, a future I orchestrated myself out of. It feels like a trophy of my own stupidity. I started therapy because my mother threatened to stop speaking to me permanently if I didn't. Dr. Chen has this way of looking at me that makes me feel like she's seeing all the layers of my deception at once. Tell me about the moment you decided to withhold, she said in our first session. I told her about the article. She didn't say anything for a long minute. So you took advice from a stranger in a magazine rather than communicating with your partner of 6 years. When she put it like that, it sounded insane. It was insane. But the worst part, the part I'm only now beginning to grasp, is that I wasn't just following advice. I was following a blueprint that matched my own twisted beliefs about love. That it had to be hard, that it had to be earned, that if I made myself scarce, I'd become valuable. The truth is, Ethan never needed to be taught my value. He'd known it. He'd bought a ring to prove it. I'd been the one who couldn't believe it. Sophie, I learned through mutual acquaintances, never played games. She texted when she wanted to text. She kissed him when she wanted to kiss him. She asked him point blank 6 weeks into dating what he wanted from his life. He said, a partner who doesn't make me guess if I'm enough. That phrase was relayed to me by Jenna, who said it with a kind of gentle cruelty, like she wanted me to learn but also wanted me to hurt. It worked. I deleted my Instagram after that. I couldn't stand the curated perfection of their lives. The way people I'd known for years commented heart emojis on photos of them hiking the trails Ethan and I used to hike, cooking meals he'd once claimed only I could make right. The final nail came when my mother invited them to her annual 4th of July barbecue. The one Ethan had attended for 6 years. The one I'd been uninvited from. My sister sent me a picture from it, Ethan in an apron I'd bought him, flipping burgers, Sophie laughing at something my mother said. My mother looked happy. That was the worst part. She looked genuinely happy for him. I spent that night with the velvet box on my coffee table, the diamond catching the blue flicker of the TV, and I cried for the first time since it all fell apart. I cried for the man I'd had, the man I'd driven away, and the woman I'd become, a woman who thought love was a game you could win by withholding your own heart. I kept up the therapy charade, though. Dr. Chen asked me last week why I was really still coming. I told her I wanted to understand myself. She said understanding is the first step to change, but I think she knows I'm still performing. Still trying to earn absolution the way I tried to earn that proposal. Still treating healing like another strategy to master. Yesterday, Ethan texted me, the first direct contact since the engagement. It said, I found your bracelet in the couch. Want me to mail it? I stared at those words for 20 minutes, so mundane, so final, the end of an era reduced to lost jewelry. I typed and deleted 6 different responses. Finally, I wrote, keep it, a gift for Sophie. He didn't respond. He didn't have to. The message was clear, nothing of ours was worth keeping. Today I found myself back at that nail salon where I'd first read the article. The magazine was still there in the same rack, a different month but the same stupid promises. I threw it in the trash. The woman at the desk looked alarmed. I almost laughed. If she only knew I was the cautionary tale they'd write next month. The story of a woman who withheld her way into loneliness. My sister called as I walked home. She never calls. I answered, heart in my throat. Mom's sick, she said, cancer. Stage 2. She wants to see you. And just like that, my self-pitying narrative crumbled. Because here's the truth I've been withholding from myself. I didn't just lose Ethan. I lost 6 months I could have spent being present with the people who actually loved me. I lost my mother's trust. I lost my best friend. I lost myself in a game where the only winning move was not to play. I'm telling this now because I'm sitting in the hospital waiting room, surrounded by people who have known me my whole life, and they're all being polite but distant, like I'm a stranger who happens to share their DNA. My mother, when she saw me, didn't ask about Ethan. She asked if I was finally ready to stop punishing myself. I didn't have an answer. The ring is still in that safety deposit box. The receipt is still in my nightstand. The article's advice is still tattooed on my brain, even though I know it was poison. I'm telling you this because I think I'm finally ready to admit that the real betrayal wasn't Ethan's. It wasn't Sophie's. It was mine. I betrayed myself by believing I had to earn love by being less than whole, by being strategic instead of sincere, by withholding the one thing that should never be withheld, my own honest heart. I don't know if I can fix what I broke. I don't know if my mother will ever really forgive me, if I'll ever forgive myself. But I'm done withholding. From here on, whatever comes, whether it's my mother's illness, whether it's learning to be alone, whether it's eventually finding someone new, I'm showing up with everything I have. No strategies, no games, no distance, just me. Flawed, stupid, human me. And maybe that's the real proposal I needed to make all along, a promise to myself to stop waiting for someone else to validate my worth. The engagement